And by the power vested in me by you just now, I pronounce you king and trophy queen. In the name of the Henry, the Hank, and the Holy Harry, amen.
It was bound to happen. Meghan Markle finally found herself in the Simpsons firing line. But no one was ready for how brutal or how spot-on the takedown would be. One Sunday night, a cartoon figure looking a whole lot like Meghan strutted across the small screen, not with any hint of royal swagger, but armed with vegan cupcakes, a fake smile podcast, and so much self-promotion it made Hollywood look humble. By Monday, the internet was going wild. Memes flooded timelines. Reaction videos dropped like crazy. Think pieces were popping up everywhere. But while the world was cracking up, Meghan was not laughing. Not even close. This wasn't just some silly jab. It was a cultural bombshell showing just how much her public image has taken a dive. For all the slick podcasts, shiny soundbites, and glossy Netflix rollouts, Meghan's media empire has one major problem. It's built totally around herself, and people are sick of it. The animated roast nailed that flaw. That cartoon character's cooking show was bland, over-polished, and preachy. A dead-on hit at Meghan's now-scrapped Netflix series, With Love, Meghan. That show was supposed to be her big comeback, mixing California cool with royal glitz. Instead, it turned into a stiff, soulless blend of social justice chatter and flawless aesthetics that insiders whispered felt more like a TED Talk than something you'd actually want to watch. Netflix yanked the plug before one episode even dropped, and that was just one of a string of projects that quietly fizzled. Instead of switching up her game, Meghan doubled down. She dropped a podcast called Confessions of a Female Founder, and just from the title, it sounded like a PowerPoint with background music. Leaked clips showed a cringy pattern. Guests barely said a word while the mic always turned back to Meghan's own story, her struggles, her wins, her truth. Critics didn't hold back. One producer said it felt like a motivational LinkedIn post that never ends. Another joked it was like a mirror disguised as a microphone. But here's the kicker. This isn't even new for Meghan. Remember Archetypes, the podcast she launched with Spotify? That $20 million deal hyped up as a game changer for women? The minute it hit the airwaves, folks were shaking their heads. It was overproduced, too perfect, and it missed real, raw conversation. Spotify execs got tired of the fluff. After just 12 episodes, the deal quietly collapsed. Meghan walked away claiming creative differences. Translation? They wanted content, and she wanted control. Now back to The Simpsons. What made this roast hit so hard wasn't the exaggeration. It was the fact it wasn't exaggerated at all. They didn't spoof some make-believe version of Meghan. They held up a mirror. When you're more worried about building your brand than telling real stories, satire becomes reality in disguise. Sources close to Meghan said she was fuming behind closed doors. She reportedly called the episode sexist and disrespectful. Her team even sent out quiet complaints, saying the show was targeting a woman of color trying to lift others up. But critics, including some well-known feminists, weren't buying it. Feminism doesn't give you a free pass for bad content. One columnist flat out wrote that the backlash signaled a shift. Meghan had long used empowerment talk as both a shield and a sword, calling out systemic issues while painting herself as the bold truth teller. But when every project turns into a spotlight on her brand, her pain, her greatness, the message gets lost, and eventually, people just stop listening. The worst part? Even her Hollywood allies are backing off. Executives who once fought to work with her are now dodging her calls. One Netflix producer reportedly told a journalist, "She's uncoachable. It's her way or no way. And when it flops, she plays the victim." Another insider said working with Meghan was like stepping into a PR minefield. One casual comment could get twisted into a microaggression. It's not just the public losing patience, it's the people who write the checks. And don't forget the audience. Meghan had a golden opportunity, the world's attention, royal fame, and a massive platform to actually make an impact. Instead, Meghan built a media empire that was basically a one-woman show. Whether it was a documentary, a podcast, or a cooking show, it was always the same setup. Meghan front and center, with a crew of supporting characters just there to boost her story. No growth, no conflict, no journey, just endless branding dressed up with empowerment slogans. That's why The Simpsons roast hit like a punch to the gut, because it wasn't just satire, it was a reality check. Animated and sweetened up, sure, but painfully true. And maybe this is where the whole thing starts to fall apart. When even the jokes feel more real than the content itself, the curtain's coming down. The Duchess of Sussex, once hyped as a bold voice of change, is now known more for dodging and deflecting. The image is cracking, and no amount of Instagram quotes or perfectly curated podcasts can patch it up. But it gets worse. This isn't just about Meghan's flopped projects. It's about what those flops reveal, a gap between the image she sells and the reality people see, between what she promises and what she delivers. And the longer that gap grows, the harder it is to take her seriously. So while Meghan fumes, spins, and rebrands, the public's already over it. They're laughing, not with her, but at her. And maybe that's the biggest shift of all. Because once the audience stops buying what you're selling, it's not just a failed show, it's a failed persona. Somewhere inside Meghan's multi-million-dollar Montecito mansion, her inner circle is still trying to figure out what went wrong. The money was there, the global platform was huge, and the curiosity was off the charts. But every project, every headline, every new attempt to reset her image has backfired. The numbers don't lie. In the UK, Meghan's approval rating is stuck in the basement. And even in the US, where the media used to ride hard for her, folks are pulling back. One entertainment editor put it straight. She's overexposed and under-delivering. But what really stings? The fall wasn't caused by a scandal. It wasn't one explosive moment. It was the slow, creeping realization that Meghan Markle just isn't who she's been selling herself as. For years, she painted herself as a disruptor, a modern royal, a voice for the voiceless. But somewhere along the way, the message got hijacked by the mirror. It stopped being about real change and started being about her. Take that Oprah interview. It was supposed to be her big turning point. And yeah, it catapulted Meghan and Harry into global celeb status outside the palace. But over time, people started picking it apart. Claims were questioned, timelines didn't line up, and the more Meghan doubled down on her truth, the more the facts started to drift. That's the thing with playing the victim on repeat. It gets old real fast. People don't mind a good comeback story, but they want to see the struggle turn into something real, something relatable. Meghan's biggest mistake? She froze her story in place, always the wounded one, always misunderstood, always bravely pushing forward, but never actually changing. Meanwhile, the Hollywood machine's patience ran thin. Executives behind the scenes started whispering what audiences were already thinking. There's no substance. One studio insider said her pitches all sounded the same: buzzwords, glossy visuals, and vague empowerment talk with zero actual depth. Another exec reportedly passed on a project saying, "It's like she wants to be Oprah, but skipped the part where she earns trust." And that right there is the real issue. People don't feel like Meghan's sharing anything real. It's all way too polished, too perfect, too tightly managed. Even when she talks about pain, mental health, or injustice, it doesn't feel like a confession. It feels like a strategy. Her words don't pull you in with empathy. They come off like a demand for applause. While regular folks are out here dealing with rising prices, job losses, and sky-high rents, Meghan's slicing cucumbers in her designer kitchen, delivering monologues about her struggles. One viral tweet nailed it. She's out here cosplaying as oppressed while wearing a $3,000 blouse. Whether fair or not, that's how people see her now, out of touch and totally unaware. Even the projects she rolled out seemed designed to dodge any real vulnerability. Pearl, her animated Netflix show, was pitched as an empowering story about a young girl inspired by historical female icons. Sounds awesome on paper. But when internal memos leaked, it was clear the series had no real structure or creative spark. Netflix dropped it during budget cuts, and no one even blinked. The same thing happened with her podcast Archetypes. The name promised something daring, challenging labels, smashing stereotypes. But what listeners got instead was a bunch of overly scripted episodes where Meghan spent more time talking about her own story than letting her guests shine. One audio engineer who worked on the series said, "Off the record, it felt like a therapy session that accidentally got uploaded. Even her supporters are starting to go quiet. The media outlets that used to celebrate her every project are now covering her with growing skepticism." Headlines have shifted from "Groundbreaking Duchess Speaks Out" to "Meghan's latest flop raises eyebrows." It's no longer brave to praise her, it's risky. But what really says it all is the shift in the public's tone. Early on, any critique of Meghan sparked a firestorm of accusations: racism, sexism, bias. But now, more people are speaking up. Former fans have taken to Reddit, YouTube, and even TikTok to explain why they've checked out. The common thread? Exhaustion. People are tired of being told to clap for something that doesn't hit home. Tired of being guilt-tripped into praising someone who keeps talking about how silenced she is. Tired of watching every media appearance turn into a branding opportunity. The magic is gone, and what's left feels empty. Even inside the Sussex household, insiders say the pressure's mounting. Harry, who used to follow Meghan's media playbook without a second thought, is reportedly getting frustrated. One source said he's worried that this constant chase for relevance is pushing away the very audience they were trying to win over. But don't just take my word for it. Let's keep digging into this story. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Fame Feast, for more deep dives, real talk, and all the latest on your favorite celebs. Let's break it all down together.